first of our rider tips for the year, we're going to cover starts, and in particular, concrete starts. Now, it doesn't matter what level rider you are, if you race a motorcycle, sooner or later, you've got to tackle concrete starts. First of all, 9 times out of 10 on a concrete grid, you're going to have little to no traction whatsoever. However, if it gets brushed sideways as it's put in, it can have a little bit of traction. The only way that you'll know how much traction your concrete start's got is by doing a couple of practice goes. And whichever way it's prepared, most of the time you're not going to have much traction in the concrete. So let's take a little bit of a look at the body position. And one of the first things that we need to do is to avoid getting that upper body right over the front of the bike. We want to try to keep the upper body nice and vertical, straight up and down, and by doing this, puts a fair bit of extra traction on that back tyre. A lot of people tend to try to bring their bum back that little bit on the seat. Where you can get in trouble here, as soon as you drop off the concrete onto the dirt, you get way too much traction and the front wheel comes up. So my recommendation is don't move that bum back on the seat, keep it nicely up the front and let the upper body be your counterweight. You'll know that your body position's in the right place. If you jump out of that gate and you're not getting any wheel spin whatsoever, you've done the right thing. From there, we need to make sure that our legs are gripping extremely tight on the bike. This really helps once we drop off the concrete onto the dirt, stops the bike from going side to side. Very important that those feet are up and under the pegs and that we lift up with the back of those heels and it keeps the bike nice and straight. The next thing is throttle control. Come race day, you might think that you're nice and easy on the throttle and you're just going to idle off that starting line, but come the drop of the gate, when you've got 30 other riders on the grid with you, it's very, very hard to do. So we must remain very, very smooth on that throttle control. Now, on the same page as throttle control is your clutch release. Now, if you've got your throttle control sorted and it's nice and smooth, but you dump the clutch, it's going to start a wheel spin that you don't want to happen. Now, these two things need to work nice and closely together. The main reason that we need to give it extra power once we get off onto the dirt is because no longer are we worried about traction. As soon as we get onto the dirt, we want that back wheel to be turning and rocket forwards as quickly as we can. Now, for those of you out there that are carrying a little bit of extra body weight, it's almost like cheating. It's a massive advantage, gives you so much more traction to that rear wheel. But for most of us out there who aren't carrying too much in the body weight department, there's a lot of little things that go together to make up your concrete start. First and most importantly is to get that body position right. We need that upper body straight up and down, feet up and under the foot pegs, and the legs gripping nicely on the bike to keep it nice and straight. Then we move on to our throttle control, teamed up nicely with that clutch release. And lastly is the transition from the concrete onto the dirt. And remembering that we're very apprehensive, smooth and calculated on the concrete. From the moment that that back wheel drops off onto the dirt, aggressive on the throttle, aggressive on a slip of the clutch, and that upper body nice and forwards to stop that front wheel from coming up, and we'll be rocketing down that start line, getting that whole shot before you know it. Now, one of the most important things to do here with your concrete starts is to practice it time and time again. You need to first of all get it right by yourself. Then if you can talk a couple of your mates into doing a few practice starts with you, because if you can't get this right with a couple of mates next to you, you've got absolutely no chance of getting it right when you've got 20 or 30 other riders next to you, holding it absolutely flat out, doing the wrong thing and putting you off your start. Always remember, practice makes perfect. Good luck and go get 'em.